Witness stand, the table, the presenting table. Welcome to the committee. Senator, I understand that you have a testifier. Is that accurate?
Dina is an expert who will answer questions.
I understand. Thank you very, very much. So, Senator Mohammed, welcome to the committee. I will move House File 4 before the committee. And for the committee members, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take up this piece of legislation. It has had a lot of hearing, and we are focused on just the provisions that deal with a waiver in terms of the process of the driver's license itself. So our jurisdiction is very narrow. We're going to spend, about 40 minutes on this at the most. I plan to call for a vote at 1:30. If we need that much time, we'll use it. But I do want to be done by 1:30 because we do have a number of presentations that follow this. And as I said, this has been through a couple of very full hearings already in a couple of different areas of jurisdiction, and the jurisdiction before us today.
Lo sentimos por el día de hoy, no hay interpretación.
So with that, the bill
Esperamos que
before
en
the
las
committee,
próximas
House File
audiencias
4,
podamos
welcome to the committee.
tenerla,
Please introduce yourself.
pero muchas
and proceed.
gracias por su apoyo en
Thank
esta
you,
campaña.
Chair Murphy and members of the committee. You should have in front of you a copy of House File 4 as amended. There are two provisions of this bill under the jurisdiction of this committee. The first is Article 1, Section 4, Subdivision 9, which states that the commissioner must establish a process to grant a waiver from the requirements under the subdivision and subdivisions of 9 and 10, or 10 and 11. The second is Article 1, Section 11, which repeals Minnesota Statute Section 171.15, Subdivision 7. Members, I appreciate you taking up this bill, and I look forward to answering some of your questions.
Thank you very much. Members, as I've indicated, and the senator has just testified to, there are a couple of provisions in here that deal with a waiver process. And out of an abundance of wanting to be comprehensive in the work that we're doing, I decided it was important that we come before this committee. So with that, I see Senator Drazkowski has the first question. Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if the author can give us a full understanding of the bill, if she can describe the bill and its interrelations between the different sections or different articles in the bill and different sections in the bill, what they do, and this is a very important area of law. There's some security concerns I think that a lot of people have, and it would be good for us to understand what the bill is and what she hopes to accomplish with it.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. And I did ask Senator Mohammed to be brief in her remarks about the proposal. So it is good with me if Senator Mohammed, you want to describe just in general what this proposal is about. And I'm going to continue to focus us on the areas of jurisdiction that are relevant to this committee. So Senator Mohammed, if you wouldn't mind, just a brief overview on the proposal itself and the objective.
Chair Murphy, I absolutely can go over the bill. And then we can also potentially have maybe councils do some of the provisions, but I can go over it as much as I can with the time given to us. But this legislation is focused on improving public safety first and foremost. It will keep our roads safer in states that allow driver's licenses, regardless of people's statuses. Hit and runs have gone down. People have gotten insured. And what this bill does, it basically reinstates the law that we had prior to 2003. We had the same exact law in place, and everybody was able to go get a driver's license regardless of their status, as long as they go to the DMV. They take the written test, the driving test, and prior to that, of course, they go in, they show who they are, they prove that they live in Minnesota, and then they can go and take the written test, the driving test, get an insurance, and they can drive like everybody else. And the reason behind this is because prior to 2003, we had this issue, but it was revoked from people. undemocratically by our former governor Pawlenty. And so what we're trying to do is reinstate that. This bill was brought forth when it was getting revoked to our legislature, and we didn't want to take it away. The former legislature at that time said they didn't want to take away. The governor did it undemocratically, but we have the opportunity to restore it. It'll keep our roads safe. People will get insurance, and also huge supporters of this is the chamber, Minnesota Chamber. It's because people know that right now, no matter where you go, what committees we're in, we're hearing about the workforce shortages and the fact that we need more people in our workforce. And how can we do that? We need to allow people to drive, and we need to allow people to drive safely and legally. And this bill does that. And above anything, it's a moral issue. Our faith community supports it because people understand that people drive, whether they have a license or not. We need to keep our roads safe. But outside of that, as far as the moral perspective, it's a moral issue because we're telling people that they should go to work, that they should pay taxes, they should do everything, but we're not giving them the opportunity to safely get home to their families, to be able to drive their kids to school, and this bill does that. So we're reinstating the bill from 2003, and we're putting it back into law.
Thank you, Senator Mohammed. And for the committees, just for your reference, this was heard in the Committee on Transportation. I believe it had two days of hearings, a lot of testimony, a lot of amendments. It was also heard in the Senate Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, where it had a full hearing and a vote. Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Senator Mohammed, so tell us, so you mentioned Governor Pawlenty did something undemocratic. Did we have non-compliant driver's licenses in law before?
Prior to 2003,
Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Drazkowski, prior to 2003, everybody was allowed to get a driver's licenses, Class D driver's licenses, as long as they showed their residency and proof that they are who they are.
So, Madam Chair.
Senator Drazkowski.
So thank you, Madam Chair. So Senator Mohammed, I don't think that Governor Pawlenty had the authority to strike out law. So I don't believe that the law was changed. I would suspect you're suggesting maybe some administrative rule was adjusted or dispatched with at that time. Can you tell us what happened back then?
Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Drazkowski.
And welcome to the committee, and please introduce yourself and briefly, if you'd like to share with us the legislative history, although today we're about the work for our future. So if you could be brief, introduce yourself and please proceed.
Yes. Thank you, Senator Murphy. My name is Vina Iyer. I am the Executive Director of the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Senator Drazkowski, in response to your question, in 2003, there was an administrative rule change that was made by the DPS under Governor Pawlenty in order to remove the ability of individuals who were not able to establish their lawful immigration status in the United States to be able to obtain a driver's license. That was an administrative rule change.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was the answer I was looking for. I think we were led to believe the law was somehow changed by a governor, and I don't think that can happen. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Mohammed and Ms.
Iyer.
Iyer. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, other questions or amendments?
Madam Chair.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Mohammed, in your the narrow of our jurisdiction here, it talks about the repealing of Section 11, which is on page 9. I'm just curious as to why you're trying to get rid of rules being made in regards to for the Public Safety Commissioner to not make rules and putting together this license for the individuals designated in the bill. If you could give me an answer on that, I'd appreciate it.
Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Anderson, give me a moment.
is actually what denies the ability to make rules. So, yeah. So we're taking that.
I'll let Vina answer that.
Hello. Senator Murphy, Senator Anderson. The section that is being repealed, what is in statute right now, is what denies DPS the rulemaking authority. So by repealing it, should they be granted rulemaking authority, they would get that rulemaking authority.
Madam Chair,
Senator Anderson.
is it Ms. Iyer?
Yes, it is. So tire without a T.
Ms. Iyer, so as it states on the back of this, it says rulemaking limitation, notwithstanding any law of the contrary, the commissioner is prohibited from adopting any final rule that amends or conflicts with the Minnesota rules 7410.010. They cannot make rules right now. Is that what you're saying?
Ms. Iyer.
Senator Murphy, Senator Anderson, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there further questions or are there amendments, members? Senator Curran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In relation to the rules, I think in one case, the implementation of the proposed language creates broad implementation rules for this particular bill, which I think covers almost all 4 areas of rulemaking, probably the most broad rulemaking we've seen in any bill. In one case, we retract their ability to be responsive to things that may change in any environment or as time moves on. The 2003 was driven by an incident. And so I'm concerned about this broad rulemaking that is allowed in implementation. And at no point does the legislature does it appear that the legislature would have a role in coming back and kind of reining the program in, or any oversight where they come back. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move the A9 amendment to Senate File 4, right?
Senator Curran moves the A9 amendment. Has been our practice. We're going to make sure the bill's author gets a copy of this amendment. We'll have the Senate author describe the amendment when she's got it. We'll check in with council and then we'll proceed. Senator Curran, would you like to describe your amendment as the pages are handing it out? And thank you, everybody, for your patience as people get the amendment before them. Senator Curran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this goes, it's a pretty straightforward. It removes the strikes on page 4, deletes line 15 and 16. And what it does is strikes the commissioner must establish a process to grant a waiver from the requirements under the subdivisions and subdivisions 10 and 11. It's really around the secondary grants documents and wanting to strike that and again, remove one piece of that broad rulemaking that would then allow a further voice of the legislature at some point in the future if something were to change. Members, I urge a green vote. And Madam Chair, I request a roll call as well.
Senator Curran has requested a roll call, and we will do a roll call on the A9 amendment when we're through with the discussion about the amendment. Senate Council, have you anything more to add in terms of common understanding of this amendment?
Madam Chair, no, the amendment removes the authorization for the commissioner to establish a process to grant a waiver from the requirements.
Thank you. Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, members, I request a no vote on this amendment. There already is a variance ability in admin rules. So I request a no vote on this amendment.
All right. Seeing no further questions, the clerk will take the roll on the A9 amendment.
Chair Murphy,
No?
Vice Chair Mitchell,
No.
Lead Anderson,
Yes.
Senator Barr,
Aye.
Senator Carlson,
No.
Senator Swedzinski,
No.
Senator Drazkowski,
Aye.
Senator Fate,
No.
Senator Gustafson,
No.
Senator Jazinski,
Aye.
Senator Karan,
Aye.
Senator Lang,
Aye.
Senator Mayquaid,
No.
Senator Morrison.
Nope.
There being 6 ayes and 8 noes, the amendment is not adopted. Members, are there further questions or amendments before us? Senator Lang?
I was waiting for the rap of the gavel, Madam Chair.
Thanks for the technical support today. I really appreciate it.
From the end. Senator Mohammed, thank you, Madam Chair. We had a pretty robust discussion in the Transportation Committee just, I think about 10 days ago. And we shot this bill full of holes, realistically, from one end to the other, a lot of big gaping holes. And we offered a bunch of amendments that I think, for the most part, would have accomplished, like I said, to all the folks in the audience, the same end result. So I guess the first question I'd like to ask is, has there been any amendments added since that Transportation Committee?
Senator Mohammed?
Chair Murphy, Senator Lang, we've taken up the House file, which actually has a lot of amendments on the data privacy, which I think answers some of the questions you had in transportation. And we've taken up 2 amendments in transportation, and we made sure that those were brought back to the bill.
Senator Lang?
And Madam Chair, can you just give us a detailed, what those data privacy, exactly what you mean? And I don't know if that may be for.
That's
Senator Mohammed?
Chair Murphy, Senator Lang, we had a discussion in judiciary, which this bill went through. And we talked about ensuring that people's data is protected when they go and get a driver's license so that they're not getting deported. And so what we ensured was that making sure that data is given to agencies who need it, except for people who enforce immigration laws unless they have a judicial warrant.
Senator Lang?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So one of the again, we're trying to stay within what our guidelines of the committee are and in the effort to
appreciate
do
that.
so.
Yeah.
When you talk about 171.15 subdivision 7 that you were talking about, I went to the Secretary of State's website and they gave us a presentation early this year, pulled that presentation down on page 9. It says works with counties, cities, and towns in the administrative elections. That's one of the duties pushed upon the Secretary of State's office. Operate and maintain statewide voter registration system, database of all Minnesota voters, certify voting systems, accept candidate filings for federal and state offices. They've taken $100 from me 3 different times. And then train the local election officials. And when it comes to state and local gov, I think that's one of the important parts of what we've been talking about. The bill is still restricts the Secretary of State's office. And I think when we had the testifier in the last committee that came up and testified about what it takes to vote in the state of Minnesota, what it takes to regulate that vote, this bill still does not comply with what I would consider a good faith effort in keeping those individuals voting that are legally allowed to vote. I think that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to this bill, Madam Chair, and I know that without straying too far away from what I'm talking about specifically when it comes to state and local elections and not getting into the election bill, I think this bill still is at fault with that. Can you comment on any additional efforts that you're going to take as this bill proceeds and goes, I'm assuming, to the floor? When it gets to the floor, that we don't have to continue to offer amendments that provide some sort of security, some sort of a semblance of comfort when it comes to folks that are really concerned about elections. And Madam Chair, we went down a line of questioning that not only has to do with elections, but integrity of people's background, people's driving records, to say that I still think this bill would allow somebody to get a license with a DUI on their record, with any of individual issues like that, as well as maybe not having the best background, and realistically, I'm a little worried about the, and I know Senator Champion talked about trusting Minnesotans, and I truly intend on doing that. We just have to verify that we are doing what we say we're doing. And I guess that's realistically what I'd like to see as a commitment from you, Senator Mohammed, as this bill goes forward, to provide some of those safeguards and those I think the term guardrails was used pretty heavily in the last committee hearing. And again, all the folks in the audience aren't going to know any difference when it comes to the license that they receive. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lang. And just so we're clear that this bill won't go from here to finance and then likely to the floor. Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Lang, thank you for the question and the comment. We had, you and I and members of our Transportation Committee had long and lengthy conversations about the bill and specifically where you're speaking to. And first and foremost, I want to say that the Secretary of State put out a statement saying that the driver's licenses for all bill will not change Minnesota election laws at all. Many people who are ineligible to vote, like green card holders or 16-year-olds, already have driver's licenses. And for that reason, driver's licenses are not used as a proof of citizenship. As far as whether these folks will use it to vote or not, the truth is when people go through really extremely hard things to get to America, when they go through war and horrific things just to get here to be safe and be a part of society, they don't come here to commit crimes. And voting as a non-citizen is a felony, which can result in deportation. And they have been clear about that. These folks just want to make sure that they take their loved ones to school, their kids to school. They want to make sure that they continue to work to take care of their families, and they're not gonna commit crimes. And those who do commit crimes, there are laws in place to ensure that they're held accountable to the full extent of the law. And so I'm committed to making sure that our laws are strong and that we are making sure that we have that we are taking care of our people, whether they're documented or not, because we have an obligation as lawmakers and as citizens who are neighbors to these folks to take care of them, but also to ensure that everybody in our state, that the laws that we do have are intact and are clear. And I think everybody who testified, which you are a part of that for over 5 hours, came and they made clear about the intention of what they wanted. And this bill has had robust conversations in the House and the Senate. We've had both Republican and Democrat say. And so it's been, I'd like to say, a bipartisan say. It's had bipartisan buy-in to the best that we could do. It's headed to finance, and then it'll be hitting the floor. And if you have more questions and clarity around that, I'm more than happy to continue having conversations with you on the record and off the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lang.
And I think I was trying to make a generalized statement, but I think now the question remains, and without going down the line of trusting anybody or non-trusting anybody, if a person that receives this driver's license does vote in the state of Minnesota, the bill you have in front of us today, still, if the sheriff's deputy in that county says, you know what, that person is illegal, I know they voted illegally, this bill does not allow that information to be shared with the judicial branch, does not allow that information to be shared with any law enforcement agency, I think is the wording that the bill uses. That is a problem.
Thank you. Senator
Murphy?
Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Lang, what this bill does is that it allows people to drive. As far as whether somebody goes and votes, if somebody does go and vote, they have to attest in the paper that they're signing that they're a U.S. citizen, that they're over 18 years old, that they say that they live where they say they live, and if they don't, there are laws in place to take care of that. As far as when a sheriff is driving and they pull somebody over, if they pull somebody over, then they're gonna do their job for the reasons as to why they pulled them over, whether that person's a citizen or non-citizen. I don't think sheriffs need to know that.
Thank you, Senator Mohammed. Senator Mitchell.
Hi, I would just like to, Madam Chair, add a little clarity to the voting issue. I've been an election judge in every cycle since 2018. To vote, a driver's license is one means that a person can register with, and I have literally personally registered hundreds of voters doing same-day elections. It is one means, but as mentioned here, if you are underage and hold a driver's license, you still can't register to vote. If you are on parole and hold a driver's license, you still can't register to vote. Other means of registering include a military ID, which I'm sure Senator Lang knows, not every person in the military is a US citizen and actually eligible to vote. You can use a student ID, which again, not every person holding a college student ID is eligible to vote and is not a citizen. So we already have similar means. We already have methods in place. There is a registration that they have to fill out. They have to certify before us that they are eligible to vote to be doing that registration. It is a felony if they do not, and I can attest that the people committing that type of a felony, quite frankly, usually there's some sort of a mistake of information, but it is exceptionally rare. So I would like to say that I believe the election part of this discussion is non-germane to what we are doing and what we are supposed to be doing in this committee.
Okay, that's okay. No applause, no applause. So one of the things that happens with applause is that we lose a little bit of time, and I want to keep us focused on the proposal before us. So I appreciate people's feelings about this bill, but we're going to stay focused so that we can get to our vote, which is going to be in about 12 minutes, so I can stay on time as the chair. So members, I understand there might be one more amendment. Senator Jasinski, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have an amendment. So one question, Senator Mohammed, you just said that this bill has bipartisan support. So I don't remember a Republican voting for it. Which Republican has voted in favor of this?
Senator Mohammed. I think
Chair
you said there
Murphy?
was bipartisan discussion.
Discussion, I apologize. That's what I
I just want to clarify that
Yes.
I have not seen one Republican vote for this. And just my final comments is I agree with the concept on public safety, but this bill in front of us has nothing to do with public safety. It is well beyond that with public safety. We proposed an amendment that did the exact bill that addressed the public safety issue with a driver's license card that said for driving privileges only. If that's the issue on public safety, which all the testifiers commented on, that was the issue, and I could vote for that bill. But this is not that. This is anything but that. Just my last comment, and so we've had a lot of deputy registers issues over the last several years, and there's discusses the training they have to go through to all these different documents that they're going to have to review. The training for this, to get our deputy registers to understand all these different documents, the odds of fraud in these things with all these different documents and training our deputy registers and then putting them through the time to register what document was done is not obtainable, and not that I've seen it in our Department of Vehicle Services. So again, I'm against this bill. If it was the bill that was authored before, I could vote for it, but this goes way beyond the needs of the public safety side, what's been all the testifiers have talked about, getting to jobs. I totally agree with that, to get jobs, but this is way beyond that. So I just want to make that comment on record. This is not addressing public safety issues. This is addressing way more issues than public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. Senator Drazkowski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Mohammed, so can illegal aliens get a driver's license under this bill?
Senator Mohammed, and just everybody gets to choose their words, but undocumented people might be
They're my
better.
words, Madam Chair, and illegal
understand
is
that.
breaking the law. Aliens is part of our federal law.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy?
Senator Mohammed.
Jaskowski, would you like to repeat your question? I didn't hear.
Can illegal aliens get a driver's license under your bill if it's enacted into law?
Chair Murphy,
Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Jaskowski, I don't think that is a term that is in this bill, and or no human being should be referred to as that. And so I will make that clear, especially because I'm an immigrant And so if I didn't have its status, I don't think I would want to be called an illegal or
My wife's an
Alien?
immigrant too.
Senator
Senator
Mohammed.
Drazkowski
I
and
appreciate
Senator
it.
Mohammed.
This bill is so that everybody in our state, regardless of status, they can get an ID to go, a driver's license to go and drive. And, you know, I'll say this, I took on this bill for many reasons. And one of the reasons is because I was so tired of the way people were demeaning me as an immigrant and demeaning people who I knew just because they didn't have a status, as if they were less of a human being. And I think you can refer to them as whatever you want. But we do this work because we're humans and we respect people. And I want you to know some of the people who you're speaking of that way live and work in this community, and they work in this building, and you see them around. They're in this building. And so I'll take on as many opposition against this bill. I will work in good faith. I will do whatever that needs to be done to get this bill across the finish line, because people are relying on it so that people who are citizens and non-citizens can both be safe in our roads, can go and get a job. These people take care of your loved ones. They go ahead and during the pandemic, when nobody could work, they were the ones who were doing the jobs nobody else wanted to do. They were the ones who were doing that. So refer to them as what you want, but when you need it, when you have a need, Senator Drazkowski, they are there. You might not want them to get a license, but you can acknowledge them as human beings. And so you can speak about it however you want, but I find that very, very disrespectful.
Madam Chair, I just want to
Thank
get.
you, Senator Mohammed. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski.
Madam Chair, I
Senator
just want to get an
Drazkowski.
answer to the question. Senator Mohammed, there are thousands and thousands of immigrants in our state that are here legally that do get a driver's license under our law. They're specially marked. My question to you is, someone, and you can, apparently you don't like the word illegal or alien, I don't know which one, or maybe either one, but someone who comes to our country illegally, and the first thing they do when they come here is break federal law, my question to you is, can that person, if they are here in Minnesota, get a driver's license under the law if your bill becomes law?
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. Senator Mohammed, I know you've answered this question. I don't know if you have anything more to add.
Senator Murphy, Senator Drazkowski, what this bill does is it allows everybody in our state, whether they're here legally or not legally, it gives them the opportunity to drive.
Thank you, Senator Mohammed. Members?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Mohammed.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. We have just about 5 more minutes before I want to move this bill. And so with those 5 minutes, I see Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator, for bringing this bill forward. You know, we're products of our experiences. We're products of how we were raised. All of us are who we are because of our life experiences. And I lived with my grandma and grandpa till I was 12 years old. And I didn't think anything of it at the time that my grandmother never drove. And she was dependent upon my grandpa to take her everywhere that she needed to go. And I just thought that was how women didn't, I didn't know I was just a kid, right? I never thought anything of it. And when she died, my mom confided in me that she fled Europe, the terrors and the wars, to come to America, and she came through Canada unlawfully. And I never knew that as a child growing up. And had this bill been in Wisconsin at the time, would she have had a richer life? Because she wouldn't have been so dependent upon her husband to take her everywhere she needed to go. And I think with your bill, on a personal note, I think my grandmother would have been had a richer life because of that. So on a personal note, I want to thank you.
Senator Anderson and Senator McQuaid. Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I'm talking to what Senator Jasinski talked about regarding the rules that we had discussed earlier regarding the repealer. And from what was told by Ms. Iyer, is that the rules will only be made by public safety or that commissioner. So I would like to open the door to allow more rulemaking. And so I'd like to have the A10 amendment brought to us, which would delete section 11, the repealer of those rulemaking. So it opens up the door to that, and I would like a roll call.
Senator Anderson moves the A10 amendment and has asked for a roll call, which we will do. Senator Mohammed will get the amendment. Senator Anderson, I appreciate that you are describing that this amendment that you're offering would delete section 11. I don't know if I need any further explanation from you on that or from legal counsel. Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, just give me one moment.
Thanks for everybody's patience as we're distributing the amendment. For those of you who are following along, the amendment would repeal lines 9.22 and 9.23, I believe, on page 9. And if I've got that wrong, let me correct that. I'm so fortunate for Ms. James. Lines 9.25 and 9.26. Senator Mohammed.
Chair Murphy, Senator Anderson, I will ask for a no vote on the amendment, and I don't want to reduce the rulemaking for DPS, and so that's why I'm going to ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Mohammed, thank you for that. Seeing no further questions, the clerk will take the roll on the A10 amendment.
Chair Murphy?
Nope.
Vice Chair Mitchell?
No.
Lead Anderson?
Yes.
Senator Barr?
Aye.
Senator Carlson?
No.
Senator Swedzinski?
No.
Senator Drazkowski?
Aye.
Senator Fate?
No.
Senator Gustafson?
No.
Senator Jasinski?
Aye.
Senator Karan?
Aye.
Senator Lang?
Aye.
Senator McQuaid?
No.
Senator Morrison?
No.
There being 6 yeses and 8 noes, the amendment is not adopted. Senator Champion has joined us. Senator Champion, we're about ready to move this bill out of committee. But I'm really glad that you're here. I know that this is something you've worked on for years. And so if you'd like to take a couple of moments, we'd welcome your testimony.
Members, Madam Chair and members, thank you so much for hearing this bill. I was over in the LCC, so I had to chair that. But know that my heart was over here. Don't tell them over there that I didn't really want to be there. I wanted to be here because this is a very important issue. And I hope that all your questions have been answered. And even if they haven't, feel free to, call us any other time. But I hope that we get an opportunity now to move this bill from here to the floor and we can have robust discussion then as well. Thank you so very much. And thank you to Senator Mohammed, who I'm sure has been doing a really good job of answering all the questions and also just being a respectful one of knowing that this work has started some time ago and she's continuing this work and we're continuing it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Champion. I really appreciate you making time to stop in. Next on my list is Senator McQuaid. Senator Drazkowski? Senator McQuaid?
Madam Chair.
If the time is now, I can go. It's not a question.
Senator McQuaid, are you wanting to speak to the bill in general? Well, then I think you should pause for a moment. Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for council. Page 5 of the bill, on line 5.12, I don't know if I've read language like this before. This makes law subversive, makes law, and that's not the right word, subversive. It makes law describe future rule and describe how future rule will operate. I don't know if, does that work?
Ms. James?
Madam Chair and members, this is using the rule and future rules as an item that is basically incorporated by reference. It is something that you can find in the statutes that we've done.
So, thanks,
Senator
Ms. James.
Drazkowski?
Thanks, Ms. James. So members, let's remember when we make rules, what happens is the legislature is delegating our authority to the executive branch. And that's what the rulemaking process is about, is it gives the executive branch the authority to write rules about specifics that we don't have specifically in law. And in order to get around the separation of powers, not get around, to comply with, if you will, the separation of powers of our Constitution that says we shall not delegate our authority as a legislature to the other branch, to another branch, we have to submit that process to administrative rulemaking, which includes judicial review. The administrative rulemaking process is subject to judicial review. And I haven't fully, Ms. James, wrapped my head around this yet, and I'd like to see the other places in statute that we have language like this, where law actually provides a condition for a future rule that hasn't been written yet. I don't know how that fits in there, but my spidey sense just says it's problematic. Members, thank you for the discussion.
Ms. James?
Madam Chair, Senator Drazkowski and members, I will look for other sites for you. I think that this particular provision is saying, is interpreting secondary document for purposes of the rule and not making the rule law. So it's a maybe unusual construction. It does not raise to me the same level of constitutional concern as something that makes the rules law.
So Madam Chair, if I
Senator
could.
Drazkowski?
Thank you, and Ms. James. So if the rule changes a decade from now or 20 years from now and changes from what it is today and what we understand it is today as we're trying to create this reference, the meaning of this and the legislative authority around that will have been removed. And that's the part I'm finding to be problematic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. Senator Lang?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I just want to remind people we are 5 minutes past the vote. Does anybody else have an amendment that you're going to offer? All right, so then to the bill, and we're going to wrap up. And I appreciate everybody's patience with me. Thank you, Senator Lang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, I'm kind of glad that Senator Champion came in at the end here. And I really have a question for you, Senator Champion, as this bill has progressed through the other committee and I think has actually made a couple of stops both on judiciary and transportation, and we had a pretty good discussion on that. And the chairwoman here has given me quite a little bit of leeway to talk about elections, because that's where obviously some of our biggest concerns with this bill are. You know, I talked about the Secretary of State's office and the fact that they laid out their list of duties and responsibilities as it comes to elections and what that means for our local communities. And realistically, Senator Champion, what I'm trying to ask you is, can you give us a good reason why this should not be referred to elections, when we've brought up again and again and again multiple concerns with elections? And I mean, I can't put it together why, you know, you're an experienced senator, got a lot of experience sitting behind this table. I think as a Senate in the state of Minnesota, deserves a good look at elections, a good look at how do we make this secure. Tell me why I shouldn't make the motion that we move this to elections.
Senator Champion.
Madam Chair and Senator Lang, thank you for that important question. Senator Lang, as you know, that the whole purpose of this bill is to really provide an opportunity for those who are with us, regardless of their legal status, to go through the paces in order to get a driver's license. And what that driver's license will be used for is to make certain that folks are able to drive the kids to school, they can go to work, all the things around work. It is not around elections. And in fact, we do not have anything in our law that would call for automatic registration of an individual who gets a driver's license in order to be able to register them to vote. There's been a lot of discussion about it, but there's been nothing right now as we sit here that would say that's the law of the land. It's not the law of the land. I am confident that those folks, if they raise that issue and deal with automatic registration, that they will deal with that, right? Because it will be on everyone's radar. And let me also say, I'm confident in those who would get this driver's license that they will not do anything that's wrong. They're not going to go and try to vote. They are interested in being here in our wonderful country, and they're contributors to this country. They know that even if they were to get a misdemeanor or anything, that could call for deportation. They don't want to be deported. They want to be able to function as we all function. And so there's nothing here around elections. There's nothing that would spur this election question. There's been a lot of discussion about automatic voter registration and all that, but there's nothing in law that would do it. So I can give you that comfort that there's nothing that we see here that would call for it to go to elections. And let me also say, if it did, we would sit in front of elections just like we would sit in front of any committee, because we believe that this is good and sound policy that should be adopted. So thank you, Senator Lang, and I don't see anything that should require it to go to elections. I would ask that you support this important policy today. We know that we'll have an additional robust discussion on the floor, but I do believe in this policy, and I hope that you would join me.
Thank you, Senator Champion. I have Senator Jasinski, Barr, and May-Quade, and we're going to go to a vote. And Gustafson. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I respectfully want to make a comment to you as Chair. This is a major bill. It's passing through with major changes in our states, and to be limited to 1 hour to discuss this and make comments, I think is a little demeaning, because I think we have a lot of discussion that we could talk about, a lot of concerns. One of my last one, again, I have a concern. So Real ID is not going to be implemented until July 1st of 2025. So when this bill goes through, we'll have about 15 to 20 months with a hole in it that will not be protecting our citizens here in Minnesota and the United States. It is a national security issue. Again, July 1st, 2025 is when the Real ID takes effect. So that's concerning. I think also all of us want to protect and support our laws, and we're giving undocumented citizens legal driver's license. We just had a bill yesterday in another committee talking about farm permits and transportation. And on those permits, on those driver's license, it specifically states for farming only, or on the back has a specific thing. And this license will have no designation. Nothing different than a standard Class D driver's license. That's my concern. Again, we are giving illegal citizens legal driver's license with no documentation on there saying that's different. And we do that to farm kids that have a 15-year-old that want to drive a farm truck so they can do that. So we're doing it for that purpose, but we're not doing it for this purpose. So I think it's a double standard that I mentioned in transportation, and I'm concerned about here as well. And again, there's a big gap when Real ID starts, and this bill, if passed as proposed, takes effect 1 October, I believe, of this year. So that's a big opening between that and July 1st of 2025, which proposes a national security risk, not only to Minnesotans, but to the nation. And I have a huge concern with that. With that, I request a roll call.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. Senator Barr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Champion, you do know that elections meets in this room right after we're done here. And on the agenda today is automatic voter registration. So I'm not finding the comfort that you want me to find with the automatic voter registration, because that bill is moving at the same time this one is. That will register everybody 16-year-old or older, and any interactions with the government, it's very encompassing who will get registered to vote. And when there's a distinction, there's no distinction between this driver's license and eligible to vote. I'm just not finding the comfort with that. So if you want to comment on that, please.
Thank you, Senator Barr. Senator Champion.
And I'll be very brief, Madam Chair. Senator Barr, thank you for letting me know that elections meets right after this. So that means you know. So there's an opportunity for you to speak to this question. But just so that you're clear, Senator Barr, and you can also talk to those folks there, that in order for a person, even under what is the proposed legislation, in order for a person to be automatically registered to vote, they have to show the necessary documentation like a passport or anything that would show that they are a citizen. If that documentation is not shown, from my understanding, to be automatically registered to vote, then they would not be they would not be eligible in order to vote or automatically registered there. And I want to go back to this, Senator Barr. I want to go back to the fact that law enforcement supports this as well. There's a wide range of support here. And not to mention, again, I keep going back to individuals who get this license. They don't want to be deported. They are not, they don't want to run that risk because they want to be here as well. They have truly embraced themselves in this culture and community and our country. That's why we see them working and taking their kids to school and soccer and hockey and all the things that we would do. So no one, I would hope, would not want to run the risk of being separated from their family. And I do think that there's the comfort around elections, and anyone who's dealing with any election policy have already demonstrated and said that in order that they would need to provide the necessary documentation like a passport and other things before they can enroll to register to vote. And even from an automatic perspective. So thank you, Madam Chair, and brevity is the order of the day, and I'm sure that we'll have a robust discussion on the floor.
Thank you, Senator Champion. Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll just be brief. I think it's important that we talk about the large coalition that supports it, law enforcement, the chamber, our faith communities, immigrant justice groups. Oh, thank you, Senator Fateh, MPPOA, the Police Chiefs Association, all that. But I really want to just speak to the human aspect of this. These are our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones who want to drive to work, to care for our loved ones who are elderly or sick. They want to drive to the grocery store to buy food for their children. They want to drive their kids to school. And I cannot imagine the fear of driving with my 9-month-old daughter to take her to daycare, to then go to work and worry that I might get arrested and deported and someone won't be there to pick her up, or that I might be taken out of the car. It is real and it is terrorizing. And our immigration system is inhumane, it is complicated, it is cruel. We are not solving that problem in this room today. And yes, we are going to increase safety, but we will remove a traumatic fear that people are carrying with them that is not okay in this state. And we have the opportunity to do that. And it has been a long journey for this bill. Senator Champion, you know that. Senator Mohammed, you know that too. And so I'm really proud that we get to move this out of committee today because I want people to know that we care and that we want to see this get done so that people can drive safely in the state, free from the fear of living their daily lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam-
No, I appreciate it again, but no applause. Thank you very much. Senator Gustafson.
Brief statement. A lot of things were said today. I just wanted to thank you. I want to thank you for speaking about this bill today. I want to thank Senator Champion for working so hard on this bill in the past, how much work you've put into this, what you've had to listen to, endure, hear people say things that aren't true. And I just want to thank the community members as well, who've spent years trying to see this bill get passed. I hope that they are feeling recognized as well. There are people who need driver's license right now. The right thing to do is to be in support of this. I am proud to support this bill. And I want to just, again, thank you for your time.
Madam Chair.
Senator Coran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I'll make my comment brief, but in relations to the elections component to it, to the authors, you're telling us we should have a blind faith in government. And what we do is our job is to trust and verify. And so I think we agree with the driver's license, right? And Senator Jasinski talked about what we could agree on. But our job is to trust but verify. In the totality of the bill as it stands alone, you've defined processes that we believe won't allow somebody who's ineligible to be on a statewide voter registration system. But at the same time, there are multiple bills moving through the process, election bills, which will change the transparency, which gives us the comfort that we can independently verify only eligible people on the voter registration system eligible to cast a vote. And I think everybody shares that goal. We're moving further away from that transparency of what we had in 2008 to be able to get a voter status. In fact, some of the election bills move inactive voter status as deemed private data. And so we're moving further away from the comfort of the transparency in the election system that all of the automatic registrations, regardless of the direction they come in, regardless of where they come from, whether it's through this driver's license process or anybody else. So we're moving away from it. And so there's a lot of discussion, a lot of impacts on the Secretary of State, the data that they can get or can't get to do their job appropriately, especially as it is not in automatic registration, but in same-day voter registration as well. And so to not have it go through the Elections Committee, I'm shocked that the chair, who is also here, hasn't requested that. And so, Madam Chair, I think, I'm not sure what the formal procedure is, but I'd like to make a motion that this is re-referred to the Elections Committee. It needs its due diligence. In fact, it was so important that the Secretary of State, right, testified many times on this bill, but not in the Elections Committee as it relates to this particular topic, to bring the totality of all elections processes and proposed bills forward is the role of the Elections Committee. And to move it outside of that really doesn't meet, I think, the intent of your goals to make sure everybody is comfortable that the processes are in totality protect the citizens and the rights of those that have the opportunity to vote in this country and to be able to verify it. And we're moving further away from that than we are closer to transparency. And so, Madam Chair, I'm not sure what that motion is, but I would make a motion that they'll be re-referred to the Elections Committee.
Senator Mohammed, we're preparing to move your bill. Senator Coran has moved to recommend that House File 4 pass and be referred to the Committee on Elections. As I have spoken with Senator Mohammed ahead of this, I would ask members to vote against that motion. And when we vote that motion down, then we will move to send this to the Committee on Finance. Is everybody clear on the motion before us? Senator Anderson.
I would like a roll call on this.
Senator Anderson has requested a roll call. Senator Coran.
I would like to withdraw that motion and modify the your motion to re-refer the bill to its next stop. I'm not sure what that is, but to re-refer to
That's what she said.
elections. Not as a separate.
Senator Coran,
That's what she said.
I believe that's what I said. So let me say one more time that Senator Cran is moving this bill move from this committee to the Committee on Elections. There has been a roll call. The clerk will take the roll.
Chair Murphy,
No.
Vice Chair Mitchell. Oh, sorry. Lead Anderson,
Yes.
Senator Barr,
Aye.
Senator Carlson,
No.
Senator Swedzinski,
No.
Senator Drazkowski,
Aye.
Senator Fateh,
No.
Senator Gustafson,
No.
Senator Jazinski,
Aye.
Senator Karan,
Aye.
Senator Lang,
Aye.
Senator Mayquade,
No.
Senator Morrison.
No.
There being 6 yeses and 7 nos, the motion is not adopted. And with that, I move to recommend that House File 4 pass and be referred to the Committee on Finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, thank you, Senator Anderson. You're right. There was a roll call. The clerk will take the roll.
Chair Murphy,
Yes.
Vice Chair, or Lead Anderson,
No.
Senator Barr,
Nope.
Senator Carlson,
Yes.
Senator Swedzinski,
Yes.
Senator Drazkowski,
No.
Senator Fateh,
Aye.
Senator Gustafson,
Aye.
Senator Jazinski,
Nope.
Senator Karan,
No.
Senator Lang,
No.
Senator Mayquade,
Aye.
Senator Morrison.
Aye.
There being 7 yeses and 6 nos, the motion is adopted. House File 4 is on its way to the Finance Committee. Thank you very much for your time. Everybody, please be quiet. And we are going to continue our work. Thank you, Senator Mohammed. There we go. And you're on your way. We have a number of people who are here to do presentations, and I'm not sure that we're going to get through them all. Everybody has been invited to come and talk for 10
Pues ahí lo tienen, compañeros en la lucha. Pasa al Comité de Finanzas. Después de que pase el Comité de Finanzas, si no, los republicanos no intentan poner más trabas, irá al voto en la Casa del Senado. Una vez ya en la Casa del Senado, si pasa, directito al escritorio del gobernador. Quisiera que estuviera aquí la compañera Emilia para que pudiera explicar un poquito más, pero sí, ya nada más faltan 2 paradas. Entonces hay que seguir luchando, seguir apoyando. Si pueden ir al Capitolio, háganlo, estén aquí atentos, informados. No se les olvide visitar la página web, unidosmn.org/licencias para obtener actualizaciones, unirse a nuestras redes sociales, nos pueden encontrar en Facebook, en Instagram, hasta en YouTube ahora, en Twitter, si es que ocupan Twitter. Sé que muchos no ocupan Twitter, pero ahí vamos, ahí vamos. Muchas gracias. Nos veremos en el próximo audiencia, que es el Comité de Finanzas, y después ya en el piso. Sí, aquí Catracho Meléndez pasó aquí, ¿o no? Sí, acaba de pasar y va al Comité Financiero. Una vez ahí que lo voten y lo pasen, va al piso, y del piso cuando pase, y si pasa, y esperemos que sí pase porque le estamos poniendo todo de nuestra parte, al escritorio del gobernador. Pero todavía falta mucho trabajo por hacer, pero ya es menos, ya estamos casi en la recta final. Muchísimas gracias. Esto fue todo. Esperemos poder traerles interpretación para finanzas y para el voto en el piso. Gracias a los que estuvieron aquí interactuando, mandando mensajes, y ofreciéndoles el apoyo. De vuelta, estén en contacto con nosotros y nos vemos para la próxima.